But welcome to the west coast of the Isle of Skye, over near Orbost. It is windy, you can probably see all around me, it's pretty wild. Yeah, hopefully I'm going to find some nice compositions using this dramatic water, all that nice texture. I think I found one just over here. What I've got is I've got the water cutting in through this channel up onto the rocks of the beach, and then over this way is I've got these cliffs, and I'm going to use my long lens to create a nice long shot all the way out to the cliffs. Fingers crossed it works, we'll soon find out. So I tried a few things with my long lens, and what I found out is it didn't work. The long lens didn't give enough width on the bottom, and it didn't show enough of the scene to make it interesting. So what I've decided to do is swap over from my 24 to 70 mil, and then I'm going to use the water as more of a initial force, because at the end of the day, that is where the interest is, in the foreground. That water that's washing in and washing out, and then creating this nice almost horseshoe-like bend around the corner. As you can see, I've turned my camera away from the waves, because what is tending to happen as they come in, the wind blows the spray all over the front of my lens. But what I am needing to do to create the shot that I envision is to put some filters on the front. And what that's going to do, that's going to open my camera up to getting lots of little water spots all over the front, which is going to make it even harder to keep the image looking good. But I have got a little technique, a little trick, fingers crossed, is going to work. So I'm going to get my filters on now, and I'll show you what that trick is. So my little trick for this is nice and simple. I get my little cloth, I put it over the front of my filters. As I turn the camera around, the wind is going to blow that onto the front of my filter, hopefully protecting it until I think it is time to shoot. And then as soon as it's time to shoot, all I do is remove that sheet, fire it off, and hope nothing lands on my lens. Right, I'm going to pack up, I'm going to move on to the next location and see what I can find there. A scene that is very typical to the Isle of Skye is these little white houses up on the cliffs. And what I think I'm going to try and do for the rest of my vlog is I'm going to photograph these tiny little white houses up on these huge cliffs, hopefully with a nice interesting foreground. After having a little bit of a walk around, I think I've found my perfect little rock pile. I've also discovered a few other compositions, quite nice compositions. So I think I've got two more shots here, and I'm going to quickly get set up for this one because it's suddenly just got dark, which probably means there's more rain coming, which is a bit of a nightmare, but a constant on the Isle of Skye, funnily enough. Anyway, so I'm going to quickly get set up and then I'll show you my composition. So just to give you a bit of a rundown on what I'm doing on this shot, I haven't put any filters on, same reason as before. I'm trying to stop everything from getting wet, so I have to spend less time cleaning it. What I have done though is I put my sunshade on, and what that does is it actually blocks out a bit of the light so I can do a longer exposure. To give myself as longer exposure as possible, my camera has this little setting where I can go lower than ISO 64, and I can put it onto L10, which kind of reduces how sensitive my sensor is. Then what I've done is I've focused on the house all the way in the back. So if I turn that off, you can see the little red square, that's what I've focused on. I zoom in, make sure I'm still nice and sharp. Ooh, I reckon that can be a little bit sharper. There we go, pin sharp. And then all I'm doing is I'm waiting for these big waves to come in. I've got it on a 2-second timer. Just waiting for these big waves. Bigger one than that. But I've got a little rock down in the bottom corner here which is acting like an anchor, and the water's swilling around the back of that, so I'm getting a nice separation from the other black rocks. Then these bit of rocks here, what's tending to happen is the waves are coming over and it's coming down like waterfalls off each one of the layers, which is really making quite an interesting foreground. And I've got my house up here, which is obviously my focal point. So I've got a nice big wave coming in now. Gonna get ready and press my timer. And there we go, you can see how I'm getting loads of little waterfall effects off there, but I didn't quite get the separation on that back rock. So what I'll do is I'll compile both of them images together, the one with the separation and then the one with the waterfalls coming down off the rocks. And don't get me wrong, it's not groundbreaking, it's not totally amazing, but on a day like today, it's creative, and that's what photography is all about, being nice and creative. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head off to my other composition, the one I spotted as well, and fingers crossed that one works out really well as well. So as you might have already noticed here, it is pretty wild. I've just had my camera fall over. Everything seems to be okay, everyone's working all right, so it's not so bad. But I've decided to go to a super wide stance on my tripod now because of that. But my composition is working out pretty sweet right now. So what I've got is I've got this line of rocks heading out, and it's acting like a wave breaker. So the wave's breaking over the top, and then it's creating all these beautiful lines in the water coming off the other side. Then I've got another little rock just off to the right hand side, and that's got all loads of little lovely patterns. And then in the background, my main focal point are these massive cliffs just leading right off into the distance. And I've decided to put them over to the right hand side of my image. And what I'll do is I'll put the live screen on and I'll show you what I mean. So if I come to the back and I turn off my level, so this is my view at the moment. Now, as you can probably tell, there is a lot of shaking going on with the camera. And what I really wanted was a slightly longer exposure. So what I've got to do, I've got to wait until the wind stops a little bit and then fire it off. But that wind ain't slowing down for no man. So as you can see, it's getting really, really soft. So I'm not going to be able to get the beautiful streaks in the water, which is a bit of an issue. So what I'm going to do, I've just decided I'm going to composite this. So I'm going to take an image of the water flowing over the rocks, and then I'm going to speed everything up and take a picture of the rocks and then blend them both together to hopefully create a nice sharp but like a slowed down image. So it'll take a little bit of doctoring, and I'm going to get wet here. It's getting over that one now. But they are building, they are getting bigger, it is definitely getting wilder out here. I'm starting to think maybe it's time for me to go. I think this is going to be my final image of the day. because I don't want to push my luck too much. I've already had my camera fall over. So I got them final images and they are looking sweet. Just to let you know what I did to create them final images. I sped up my camera, so I put it on a faster shutter speed to get the detail in the rocks, because what was happening, the wind was blowing and it was making my camera lens do that, which is no good for detail, as you can imagine, at about 150 mil. So what I ended up having to do is I did the fast shot, get the detail, did a slow shot, got the movement in the water, then I'm going to blend them together. In future vlogs, if you're interested, write in the comments below if you'd like to see the before and after, because it is interesting to see the full story and not just the finished chopped version posted. So if you are interested in seeing the full story, just let me know in the comments below and I'll start adding that into my videos, because I do a lot of blending, I do a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you want to see more content straight away, hit that bell button. And if you want to just support my channel and give me some love, hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.